Very good morning to everyone there.
Good morning.
With my due respect, I like Mr. Maharaj to know that he said there is a group trying to bring down the PP government. That is untrue. The fact is, the PP government in their campaign have made a lot of promises that they haven't kept. They have made a lot of missteps and continuing to do so every week. They are bringing down their own selves. So I don't understand everything that people could just sit at home or wherever and see these things happen. In 120 days, they promised that done away with the crime scene. Now we are selling the blimp and they reject the OPVs and all these kind of things. So they're bringing down their own selves. Thank you very much for your time.
Okay. We'll go straight to Guacara before we have a response, please. Guacara, good morning. Go ahead, please.
Pleasant good morning to you, Mr. Paul, Ms. Jessie, and to the two guests in studio there. Two questions I have for Mr. Maharaj. Number one, Mr. Maharaj, as a spiritual leader, why it is you always embroiled in confusion? Number two, yesterday on your program, Radio Jagrati, you was calling David Mohammed a terrorist and saying he should go back to the Middle East. I think Brother Mohammed is a fine gentleman, and I think you should apologize because you brand him as a terrorist. And I think for a spiritual leader, you should apologize to Brother David Mohammed. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Maharaj.
Let's start with Guacara and Mr. David Mohammed. It's all right for David Mohammed to take the airways and say all sorts of nonsense about other people. But it's not right for me to take our airways and respond to David Mohammed. I have responded to him. And whereas you say that, listen, they are not performing, it's only 1 year. And you grant charge in and say they're not performing. Right now, the PNM is still in disarray. The PNM as an opposition cannot launch an attack on the PPP government, either in Parliament or anywhere. So they are relying on people like these who control the airways. These people who we identify. We have been following their programs. So my friend down in Guacara, you better stay down there. It's safer down there.
Is that a threat?
No, it's safer there because here you will come to reality and you will come to divergent views that we hold, and we still agree with each other.
We have a couple of comments here. This person asking, what is race? We are all red-blooded human beings. Who really has a problem with their neighbors? The truth is our only difference is our traditions. And another comment here, why is racism more prevalent among elite upper classes than among the roots people? The problems we have in race begin at the top. What do we expect at the bottom? And another text here. This talk of race stems from the older heads today. Among the younger generation, there is not much talk of race due to the fact that we are studying. So I guess that person is saying because everybody is being educated, have access to tertiary education, they're not thinking in terms of race because everybody has equal opportunity. Any comments on any of those, gentlemen?
Well, the writer there quotes no figures at all and yet make the blanket claim that this only exists in the head of the older generation. No figures at all. Absolutely nothing. Because they have access to the television station. I don't think there's anything there for us to answer. Or for me to answer, at least.
You have Port of Spain on the line. Good morning, Port of Spain. Good morning. Go ahead, please.
Hello?
Good morning, Port of Spain. Go ahead, please.
Yes, good morning. I would just like to say, obviously, I don't have the intellectual richness of the two members of the show this morning. But I would just like to ask, why is it that are we trying to educate the two ethnic groups, Indo and Afro, of where we came from and where we want to go as two individual ethnic backgrounds? Or are we educating them as with respect to being divided? Because to me, there's a difference with educating both ethnic backgrounds of where you want to go, where you came from, where you want to go, where you want to rise from the ashes or whatever, and whether you want to be divided as two separate people. I think that these two members, it's my opinion, that they are more promoting division between the two ethnic backgrounds and not where you came from. Not forgetting where you came from and where you want to go as two different ethnic bodies. Thank you.
Let's go straight to Kirib and then you'll respond. Kirib, go ahead, please. Good morning, Kirib. Go ahead, please.
Yes, I'm very privileged to talk to these two esteemed gentlemen here this morning. I beg to differ when our caller said that the younger people are not studying race. I beg to differ because I come across many students and many schools who are very race aware. I think that a lot of parents are perpetuating this race thing from a very small age. Because there was one time that I was in a particular school and a young boy asked me if I was from a particular race. And I thought that was very tasteful. However, the real point that I want to hit on is that I admire these two gentlemen for fighting for their various ethnic groups. However, I would like to add that the PNM government, unofficial policies, I believe that they were unofficial policies to keep down the East Indian population. And I would like to give an example of that. Remember a couple of years ago when Marlene McDonald gave $5,000 to the Hindu community to celebrate Diwali? I would like Mr. Kujo to respond to that, please. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kujo and Mr. Maharaj.
Well, personally, I didn't see anything in either of those calls to respond to.
Okay.
Maybe could you?
Yeah, I think the first one, and I guess it's probably we need to give it some thought. And I think I find it hard. I mean, I'm an educator, started as an educator, both in religious terms and academic.
Secular
terms.
and religious.
Oh, whatever I just say.
All right. Yeah, no, I just want, because one of the callers talked about I'm a religious person. I'm also a secular person. I want to make that clear.
But I start by saying we start in teaching us monitor and
That's right.
Remember that, or pupil teacher. And so I guess we have to give it some thought. You know, there's no such thing as knowing by osmosis. We learn, that's why we have schools. If you want to know who you are, if I said, who are you? You're going to say, my mother is so-and-so, my father is so-and-so, you tell me about your past. If you want to know about you, what are your religious beliefs? And so there is no way to talk about us not going forward as a group if we don't know who we are. So to talk about differences in both religion and political persuasion and so on, I don't know how that ipso facto becomes divisive. I don't think it's a myth when we say people feel very strongly. Somebody made, I thought was an interesting statement, which I don't think is true again, because I wanted to buy the gene thing that Harry and Alain talk about, and someone said that the Africans less racial, and I don't accept those kinds of things. I don't think it's true. I don't think we have nothing with genes. I think we're products of our social environment and our upbringings. And so therefore, what we try to say that if you know what your upbringings are, if you know what your history is, you have a better sense of things. So it's not meant, I don't think, to be divisive, as I think it's meant to understand where we are and where we see in this conflict. You've been taking the position this morning that we're divided. No. Whether it's true or not true, it certainly is that perception. And so to talk about it is not to intensify the division, but to say, listen, these are legitimate kinds of claims. The only problem, when it occurs with us, we label it differently. But we just demonstrated in the States. For example, in Rwanda, different ethnic groups were killing one another, and they all had black skin, because people was married together. So people have differences, and it's how they handle those differences. So I think I want to be tolerant, but I think that I see it a little differently. I think the service we're providing is to say to us, by the way, you got a lot of people who do not know where they're going. You have a lot of black kids who just is awake last night, people gambling, getting high, cussing. And I don't know how acceptable that is. And we have to educate, particularly my people. I think we have a particular deficit, which I think to some degree we as elders have failed at. But I think we do have to educate them and say, listen, here's where we come from. So I don't think when we talk about it, we're seeking to divide. I think certainly myself, I'm seeking to educate, and I put my whole thing at trying to.
Let's take a call before the break, a quick call.
I think we've got St. James on the line.
St. James on the line. Good morning, St. James. Go ahead, please. Thanks for holding.
Hello?
Yes, go ahead,
morning.
please.
Yes, hi. Morning. First of all, Sitaram to Mr. Maharaj.
Sitaram. First time I hear that on this television station. Sitaram. Thank you very much.
Listening at the wrong times.
I just like to say that I have heard Mr. Kujo and I've heard Mr. Maharaj, and I want to ask really Mr. Kujo. In 2007 general election, you were fully behind the PNM.
Still am.
You stood up and you went and you said on platforms that you must keep the PNM in power.
Yeah.
right? And I want you to deny this.
I do not deny.
Right? And I remember in 2010, you only decided to speak out against Mr. Manning because of people such as Penelope Beckles was not really taken for the Arima seat.
Yeah.
And I remember when you said that you will really want them others to come back into power, and you will regret it. And I want you to deny that because you said it.
I mean,
okay, thanks very much.
No,
Professor Kajil.
Let me do it again. Let me try it again. I was then and am now a member of the People's National Movement. I supported the People's National, but the book that sought launch, I went back to 2 speeches where I demonstrated where I began to disagree with. The last elections, I was on this station the day before when I said I was not voting for my representative Esther and I'm not supporting the PNM because I thought they had gone the wrong way. That's the nature of intelligence that I thought, were we saddled with an executive presidency with that kind of power, where we had a fellow called a heart, where those people, I thought that was repulsive to what I stood for. I did not vote for the PNM. I did not support them because I disagreed. I did not support the PP, but I am a member of the PNM, I support PNM, but any intelligent person who's concerned about his country must look at trends and says, you know what? This is not good enough for me. And I would make a statement which I have in my book, which Sat knows. I think the coming of the PP was a good thing for the country. Change the dynamics, change the discourse, and there's a new phase, which we have to, that's why I say it's a new stage of social development. So there's no need to deny, and that's kind of categorical statements.
I am glad that he says that the PPP was a good thing for the government.
This is
for the country. Where I disagree with him, he has started the demolition job too early. Within 1 year, he started the demolition job. This should be start demolition the PPP in 3 years' time. Not now.
We're going to take a short break.
We have to take a break.
We will take a short break and come back with these gentlemen and more of your telephone calls. This is the Great Race Debate as it continues on C. Please stop. Stay with us.